Hello, this is Xinxin Xiong, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 teaching standards that I have achieved in my junior primary school placement. I believe that before any teaching happens, it is very important to know the students and know how they learn. Students, they are different from each other, and they have different learning abilities. They have at different levels. Especially with children have special needs, it is very important to adopt different kind of teaching strategies to support their learning. So take at my guided reading group as an example. So in my guided reading, I separate students into different groups according to their reading levels. So for high groups children, I normally ask them to read the whole page in 20 minutes. And I ask them to summarize, to retell this chapter in their own words, and in a compound sentence, and give more details about the story. But with relatively low groups children, before we start reading, I usually go through the key vocabularies, and I make sure they could pronounce those vocabulary clearly, correctly, and they do understand the meaning of those vocabulary before we start reading. And for those low group children, I give them more encouragement because they need more encouragement and motivation to read, to do the guided reading. And then the second standard I want to talk about is plan and implement the effective teaching and learning. So before I started my block weeks, I had communicated with my mentor teacher about what I'm going to teach during my block weeks, and what the topic gonna be for the English and math. So for English, I had to teach about speech marks, other verbs, and narrative writing. And for the math, I had to teach directions, transformation, and the data. And I have proved that I have showed my mentor teacher my weekly plan and with my specific lesson plan, and I have to prove that how I use those plans to implement my teaching during those block weeks. And I'm I'm very confident to say that I love to make my teaching very fun. I strongly believe that in early childhood setting, learning should be meaningful, educational, and fun. Take example as my math lesson. So we were learning about different kind of terms, and before I taught them about different kind of terms, I told children, this is the play I made by myself. I told children what is a whole play, what is a half of the play, and what is a quarter play. Then I used a paper butterfly, and I showed them what is a half turn and what is quarter turn. So I found this is very useful for children. So, and then for that day, the worksheet is using different kind of animal papers to make the turn and choose group what's gonna be look like after that certain time. This is I find it's very useful and interesting for children. And the last sentence I want to talk about is assess, provide feedback, and report on students' learning. So every time once I finish one topic, I will design summative assessment worksheets for students. Because in my class I have year 1, year 2 students, so I normally design 2 different kind of worksheets for them, and I usually mark their assessment worksheets, and by marking their assessment worksheets, I could tell those children who need further support, and I would communicate with my mentor teacher about what should I do for those children who didn't do well in their assessment worksheets, and how can I help them to get them back on track. And not only for the final assessment, during each lesson I usually give them feedback when they are doing their worksheets, when they are doing activities, when I notice that they are doing the wrong thing, and they are using the wrong way yeah, they are making the wrong answers. So take example as my math lesson last week. We were talking about the data. We were trying, we were learning about using tally marks. I have noticed most of the children when they are counting tally marks, they were doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 instead of 5, 6, 7. They didn't realize like these 5 is a group. So I immediately stopped the lesson by clapping my hands and wrote the wrong answer on the board and asked them, is that how we use tally marks? Children immediately gave me the answer no, and asked them why is this wrong? By this way, I give them feedback about their worksheets. Most children they ultimately knew they were wrong and they correct themselves, which is great.